Welcome to Not the Retirement Show. I'm Robin,
Hi, and I'm Bill.
and today we're talking about this is not your granny's retirement.
What does that mean?
Well, I think an awful lot of us can relate to the fact that we saw our grandparents or possibly our great grandparents get old, lose independence, have to move to a nursing home, and let's just say that usually didn't have a very happy outcome, and their life was in a lot of cases pretty much over by the time that they moved to a nursing home. So I'm really concerned that there's a lot of people out there that witness this sort of thing who just think they can avoid it by saying, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to retire. I'm not going to get old. I'm not going to wind up that way.
Well, I think a lot of people do say that they don't want to retire. And frankly, I think that's great. I mean, if you want to continue working or do part-time work or even, things like volunteer work, I think that's brilliant. I think the word independence, though, has a kind of a broader meaning, a wider meaning than simply, living alone or being alone. Because I do think it's independence of thought that, you're now in a position where you don't have a boss. Hopefully, well, in some cases we do, but that you don't have a boss to say, today I want you to do this, today I want you to do that. I think that independent capability, or at least the opportunity to think independently and act independently, I think that's a tremendous advantage. But I do think you're right that we did see particularly I think our grandparents who had this kind of notion that when they retired, then after a period of time, and usually a fairly short period of time, that their mind and body would be going downhill, and perhaps they would end up in some sort of nursing home.
Well, I agree, but I think what's at issue here is that people are fearing the loss of independence so much that it's affecting their decision making, and they're failing to make the decisions that are necessary to actually preserve their independence. So what do I mean by that? Well, nobody is trying to tell anybody how to live, but I think we do have a message that would say, be really realistic, be brutally realistic with yourself. If you're sitting out there and you're living in a two-story house, and yes, you've been there a really long time, but you also know that you can barely get up and down the stairs anymore, are you living a life that is going to enable you to continue to stay there forever? Would you not be better to swallow really hard and say, I'm going to take control of this situation. I'm going to take ownership of this situation. I'm going to move to a one-story place of my choosing now while I still can and while all of the decisions are in my control.
Well, I guess you're talking about downsizing, yeah?
Well, actually, yes, I am.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, and I think in sort of future videos, we're going to talk about that in some great detail because, that is not a simple decision. It's all very well to say, I'm in this big house, the kids have flown the nest, I'm kind of on my own or with my partner, there's two of us, the house is just far too big for us. That's fine. And if that's the realization, then yeah, sure, you would want to be thinking about, downsizing. But as I say, there are so many issues to that, not just financial. Financial is probably the biggest, certainly, but the thought of moving and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it goes back to the whole question about independence that you're talking about. Independence, is a very personal thing. In as much as you might want to sort of live on your own or be on your own or spend time alone. And even if you're in the house with, a partner, I think one of the great ideas about the retirement years when you're both at home, you're both in the same house, sort of 7/24, is to have your own space, have your own areas.
Well, absolutely. In the non-working phase of your life, because we don't use the R word here, it's really important if you have a couple or a life partner that you are doing your own thing, that you are developing your own interests separately, as well as learning to develop new things together as you go forward. But I want to come back to the central point here. This video is about making smart decisions and maintaining independence. Let's talk about health for a moment. Can you, Bill, keep your teeth by never going to the dentist?
You talking about my teeth or somebody? Are you talking generic?
Anybody, yeah. I mean, we all know the answer to that question. Like it or not, we all need to take care of our teeth if we want to keep them. And here's the thing that we all forget. We think, oh, well, it's just my teeth. It's inevitable. I have bad gums run in my family. Yeah, but you need your teeth in order to eat nutritious food, and you need nutritious food to stay healthy and strong and live
I'm not.
independently.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I'm not sure I'm understanding the connection between downsizing on the one hand and teeth on the other. I mean, are we talking about the same thing? You lose your teeth. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm talking about the fact that to maintain an independent life, you've got to make responsible decisions about every aspect of your life that you can consider. And the older you are, the more important it is that you're continually asking yourself, am I making wise decisions that are going to enable me to continue to live independently?
Well, I think that's right because, you cannot plan for another 10, 15, 20 years out. As much as though you're going to live longer and you do want to prepare or plan, whatever the word you prefer, for your later years, I mean, it's just impossible to be able to plan that. But I think the whole purpose of this show, not the retirement show, apart from just not using the R word, as Robin says, is to be able to say, look, let me be aware of those issues. I may not need to make a decision on them today, or this week, this month, this year, but I'm aware that if I don't pay attention to certain things, health, of course, being a big one, financial, as well. If I don't pay attention to those things now, and at least be aware of them, then when the time comes, and mostly the time will come, you're not prepared at that stage.
Excellent point. It's like the firemen used to say when I was a kid, if you see a fire, stop, drop, and roll. What we would say is stop, assess, and adapt. Life is a journey. Things are going to keep changing. You are going to keep changing. Stop, assess, and adapt, and live independently.
Don't lose your independence. We'll see you again next time.
Take care, everybody.